Okay, welcome. It's a long time ago. Martin's here. Well, he's not here, he's on that side. But yeah, I'm Adam. We were talking, what have we been talking about recently? We've sort of got into how Star Wars has influenced and appeared and been parodied in other TV shows.
I think it started off, didn't it, when I said, "Have you seen Star Wars Robot Chicken?"
Yeah, I think it might have done. And at the time I hadn't, I have now, which is, well, I'd seen clips of it because, you can't really miss it. And do you know what? I think it came about from that tweet, didn't it? Where you tweeted one of your vintage collections, as we've been doing, and it was Dr. Ezeran, is it? Everson, thank you. And I replied to it because it just reminds me of that scene in Robot Chicken with the "he doesn't like you." I don't like you. And what's the other guy's name?
Ponda
Baba. Yeah, he said, "That's not what I said." Before losing his arm.
And then his job
because he's an architect or something.
It's just funny.
It's just brilliant, isn't it? So we were going to talk about what, the main things off the top of our head that we could think about. References to Star Wars and Star Wars appearing in it. So
that's right. Well, you had the good idea as well of just doing it off of the top of our head rather than trying to research all of these millions, because there probably are millions of references to Star Wars over the last 40 years in TVs and movies.
Well, I did look up, didn't I? I looked on. I'm going to have to credit the name of the website now. StarWarsFans.fandom.
I didn't actually look at that.
They referenced 370 Star Wars TV shows or films which have some sort of relevance to Star Wars.
I don't think is that.
And it's got to be more.
Thousands more. Yeah.
They were the ones.
I mean, there's some shows that I've seen where you can't go, that have lasted 6-7 seasons, where you can't really go a couple of episodes without a Star Wars reference. So
So what's sort of the main one that stands out to you?
Well, as a child of the 80s, there's a few from the 80s that stuck out, but the main one has to be really the first Back to the Future film, where Marty McFly is standing over his father, George McFly, and he's wearing his hazmat suit, and then he does the whole "My name is Darth Vader, I'm an extraterrestrial from the planet Vulcan," absolutely brilliant. And while he's pumping Van Halen into his ears through his Walkman, it's
hilarious. And such a good movie as well. Such a good trilogy, isn't it?
It's a fantastic trilogy. So that's the one, if you were to say right now go, that would be the one probably that instantly I go to as a good Star Wars reference.
But I mean, on a normal day I think that would be the same with me, but I've been watching a lot of Scrubs recently. I'm not sure if you've ever watched it or if you're into it.
Well, as you probably have gathered by now, I'm not someone who's massively into his comedy. I don't really watch sitcoms, and I don't watch comedy in general. I like comedy, don't get me wrong, but I kind of like the kind of comedy that has a serious story, but has comedy written into it. I'm not the sort of person who particularly likes to sit and watch a specific comedy show, if that makes sense. Does that make any sense?
So, absolutely. So that really, Scrubs is a lot of people know what Scrubs is. It's about
I know
doctors and everything. So like, going to what you were saying about serious in comedy, this is comedy, and they write a little bit of serious into it. It's amazing how they can sort of go between, because it is such a slapstick sort of show, especially to begin with, like series 1. but yeah, they've always got a serious element that sort of just at the end of the episode just makes you think, oh wow, yeah, didn't expect them to go there.
Yeah.
In a lot of cases. But anyway, I'm getting away from what I was saying. So the Scrubs reference, there is I'm trying to think, because I've been watching it, I've been trying to think if it is in series 1. They dress up Dr. Cox, played by John C. McGinley. They dress him up as Obi-Wan, and then they dress Ken Jenkins, who plays Dr. Kelso, as a version of Darth Vader. He's not so much, and they pit them off against each other with lightsabers, and then the rest of them are watching on. It's the scene where in A New Hope where Obi-Wan dies, and so they pit, all the other characters are in the background, and they all have their they're all dressed up. I'll put a picture up, but they're all dressed up. So like JD's Luke, and it's quite funny. Carla and Elliot are both Princess Leia. The janitor is the Wookiee, and Chewbacca, and Donald Faison, who is actually a massive Star Wars fan himself. I don't know if you know that.
No.
He is in Robot Chicken. He's Stormtrooper Gary.
Oh right.
Yeah.
He takes his girls to work.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Yeah. So he's in that as Han Solo, and Harrison Ford's his like idol apparently. So yeah, it's just a really funny scene. It's worth watching. Well, if you watch this back, I'm sure I'll put some of it over the top so you can see it. But
hopefully we can add in a few clips or pictures of what we're talking about. That'd be good.
Yeah, but because that show is so fresh in my mind at the moment, where I've been watching it recently, that's what springs to my mind, and it's just a funny scene.
Oh right, I've never actually seen that, so I will check it out.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, it's worth watching. Yeah. But there's so many other, and I was going to say this sort of gives the listeners an idea of both of our interests, because you say you're not that into comedy, whereas I really am, so a lot of the shows that I've been thinking of, they all come from, the majority come from comedies. So
that's interesting. Because we've both got very similar tastes, but we also have quite contrasting tastes in other ways. So that's interesting. I mean, you're going to have loved this film. My second choice was classic Captain America Civil War, where Spider-Man is saying, we could do that idea from that really old movie, and he's talking about the Empire Strikes Back and Tony Stark. So where did we get this kid?
Hey guys, you ever seen that really old movie, Empire Strikes Back?
Jesus, Tony, how old is he?
And he's like brings down giant.
As they take the AT-AT or AT-AT walkers out. Yeah, that's
right. Yeah. That I did love that scene. Brilliant. That did make me laugh in the cinema so much. Because it made me feel old.
Well, it's funny you should say that, because the other one that I thought of was Spider-Man: Homecoming. Because they're obviously building the Lego Death Star.
Yeah.
And it's just so good, so funny. I mean, we're both really big Marvel fans as well.
Yeah, massive Marvel fans. Yeah.
We don't have the knowledge, or at least you don't have the knowledge that you do with Star Wars.
No.
I've probably got more knowledge about Marvel than I do Star Wars, but I don't know. Maybe. Who knows?
Well, maybe in a year or two's time you won't do that.
Yeah, well, this is definitely enlightening me to all of the other things in the Star Wars world or universe. Yeah. So what else have you got then? Have you got any other?
Well, I mean, just this is just a quick side note to Captain America Civil War. Obviously Marvel films themselves, I would find it hard pushed to find a Marvel film that doesn't have a Star Wars reference.
That's true.
I think it was phase 2 of all the Marvel movies that there was always someone losing a hand or an arm in each of the phase 2 movies, which was a homage to the fact that everyone in Star Wars always loses a limb.
I actually want to get into that, because it's quite often the right hand or the right arm that goes. Oh no, it's not, is it? Or is it? I'm just trying to think. Well, it's either way. It's always a hand. Is there a reason for that? Is it just by chance? They always take a hand. Even in the Obi-Wan series, Reva cuts that woman's hand off, and I was thinking, why is it always the hands? They're
Yeah.
always the first thing to go.
Well, with the exception of Obi-Wan TV show, I'd probably say that they're all right hands, probably because that's the hand they're holding their weapons in.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know for sure, and I couldn't categorically say that it was all right hands without having a bit of a look. But yeah, I've never thought of that before. Interesting.
Yeah, it's just it popped into my head. I think probably when we were watching Obi-Wan, I was thinking, why is it always the hands? They just love taking a hand off in the Star Wars universe, don't they?
Certainly do.
Yeah.
The next one I had was Indiana Jones and Raiders of the Lost Ark. And
see, I've heard about this, but I don't think I'd ever looked for it and noticed it.
I can't say that I noticed it in the 80s, say, but it was definitely something in the 90s that I saw a picture of once. And every time I watch the scene where they lift the Ark of the Covenant out of the case, I can't help but see it every single time now. And that's the hieroglyphic of C3PO and R2D2 on the side of the wall.
Yeah.
So subtle, so small, and I don't think you would notice it unless it was pointed out.
It's quite a difficult one to see that.
But again, we'll probably stick a picture up or something for those who haven't seen it.
Definitely, because I've been just staring at my phone looking at the image, so it doesn't make good. Now the other thing for me, Spaced. Did you ever watch Spaced? You did watch Spaced.
Well,
good.
I love Spaced, but I must admit I'm not a huge fan of Simon Pegg due to his prequel hatred. Me and Simon Pegg have a bit of a complicated relationship. So I do like Spaced.
You say that like you know him.
Oh yeah. We're old enemies. But his prequel hate kind of was a bit over the top, and in Space there are some fantastic homages to the original trilogy, but there's some there's some really funny jokes about the prequel trilogy, if I'm being honest. But I mean, I think he might have perpetuated a little bit of the George Lucas destroyed my childhood thing that went around in the early 2000s, and something people don't need to repeat what I've said about the prequels, but I wasn't a big fan.
Yeah, that's fair enough. But I was just going to say how Spaced is absolutely littered with the references. They're all the way through, really. Yeah.
So, well, it's him and Nick
Frost.
Nick Frost, thank you for helping me out. Yeah, they're again massive Star Wars fans, and obviously Simon Pegg was in episode 7,
Force Awakens.
Force Awakens,
Unkar Plutt.
Yep. Well, see again.
Yeah, I got some knowledge.
They're massive Star Wars fans, and he also played Dengar in the Clone Wars. He did the voice for Dengar.
Oh, really?
In the Clone Wars, yeah.
How many episodes does Dengar appear in?
I think he only appeared in one.
Yeah.
It might have been a two-parter.
I remember it.
Yeah, it might have been a two-parter. I think it might have been, and again, I might be wrong, but I think it was the episode where Boba Fett, young Boba Fett, sort of got a team of bounty hunters together. But I'm not 100% sure. It's been a while since I've seen that episode. Yeah.
So it would have been a younger Dengar then, quite a bit.
Yeah, he was still all bandaged up though.
Oh, really?
yeah. But no, Space is excellent for Star Wars references.
Yeah.
Again, I'm going to go with my next one is Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Again, really subtle one. The beginning scene where Obi-Wan's in the club and he's getting the antidote for the poison.
Hang on, not Obi-Wan.
I did that last week, didn't I? Indiana Jones.
Indiana Jones is in there.
Yeah. Junior. He was trying to get the antidote, running around with Willie Scott, and they jump out the window into the back of the car where Short Round's driving it, and he speeds past the outside of the club that they were in, and the club is called Club Obi-Wan.
Right.
Yeah, again, great, quite subtle. I'm sure you'd notice this one a bit more, but again, I don't ever remember noticing it for a while.
There and then.
There and then. So it's a good one. I like that.
Yeah, nice. Well, I can't relate to that, but going back to the whole comedy side of things, Family Guy.
Oh, well, yeah.
So-
Family Guy's awesome.
I mean, yeah, it's they've parodied it. We've talked about parodies, not on the podcast, but
No.
between each other recently. We were talking about the parodies, and you've got Spaceballs and Robot Chicken again.
Yeah.
But the Family Guy ones, they're just so funny. How they've like taken all the characters and put them, likened them up. It's just really good. I need to watch them again actually because.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, they are so good.
You should check out them on DVD because they've got some fantastic behind the scenes footage where George Lucas is actually in some of them, and
right.
and him and Seth MacFarlane are talking about certain bits and bobs, and Seth MacFarlane was obviously worried about certain aspects because obviously some of the classic characters aren't quite portrayed as they are in the without going into too much detail as they are in the movies in the show, but yeah, I thought they were hilarious, and they kind of got less funny as they got to the Return of the Jedi spoof. But even the Return of the Jedi spoof had some absolutely hilarious moments.
Yeah, really good. Yeah, it's funny. I did have them on DVD, and I'm not sure if I do anymore. I think I might have got rid of them. I'll have to seek those out. They could have been my backdrop.
I think even the Robot Chicken episodes had some good behind the scenes stuff with George Lucas in as well.
Yeah. He's not afraid to make an appearance, is he?
Oh no,
not really.
And he's actually quite. A lot of people would be really protective of their sort of IP, I guess. But he's happy. As long as it doesn't infringe on the canon or anything like that, he's always been happy to sort of let people take the mick a little bit. Even Spaceballs, I believe Mel Brooks actually contacted him and asked him if it was all right. And I think the only caveat was they weren't allowed to sell any merchandise. I think that was the only thing George said. Now again, I'm not 100% sure about that, but so he's obviously quite willing for the Mickey to be taken.
Can I just go back to the first Family Guy one? It's called Blue Harvest.
That's right. Yeah.
Do you know if there's a meaning behind that? What is Blue Harvest?
Blue Harvest, right? Well, when they made Star Wars, no one thought anything about Star Wars, so no one cared. They made Empire Strikes Back, and again, people kind of cared, but they didn't, quite yet get how big it
wasn't
was.
As big, yeah.
No, but by the time they got to Return of the Jedi, everybody knew if you went to them and said, "Oh, we'd like to use your studio to film the next Star Wars," or "We'd like to use your I don't know." Company to provide something for the next Star Wars.
Gotcha, yeah.
They knew as soon as they heard the word Star Wars, the price would double. So they introduced the code name for the film as Blue Harvest.
Yeah, okay.
Horror beyond imagination, I believe, was the tagline to it as well. That's some deep knowledge there for you.
Yeah.
And so, of course, all these people would do all these services and everything for Star Wars. For Blue Harvest, and obviously they'd get charged a cheaper price. And this is in I think one of the documentaries that I've seen. As soon as obviously the people turned up to do all the work, and they saw Harrison Ford, Mark Hamill, and Carrie Fisher turn up on set,
they figured out pretty quickly.
They figured out, but by then I guess the contracts were signed. So that was the reason they called it Blue Harvest.
Yeah. Right. Who is it? Is it you next?
I think it's me. Yeah. Next one is a really funny comedy from the 80s, in my opinion, Coming to America with Eddie Murphy.
I've seen it once, but I couldn't tell you the Star Wars reference off the top of my head.
Well, James L. Jones plays the king of Kamunda, I think it is, something like that. It's a made up nation in Africa, and obviously James L. Jones, for those who are listening to this and don't know anything about Star Wars, he did Darth Vader's voice.
Surely no one's listening that doesn't know about Star Wars.
I was going to say no one's listening, so I don't know why I ever said that.
No, somebody's listening, but hopefully.
Maybe.
Hopefully,
maybe they've just come on here for our Marvel knowledge. I don't know. So there's a scene where he's looking for his son Akeem, played by Eddie Murphy, and he walks into a faux McDonald's. I can't remember the name of it, and McDougal's, I think they call it. And the guy in there says, I'll let him know you're after him. And James Earl Jones turns to him and says,
Do not alert him to my presence. I shall deal with him myself.
in the booming Darth Vader voice, which is actually a line from Return of the Jedi.
Of course, yeah.
So that's one again that sticks in my mind as a kid. That I hadn't seen Star Wars for a few years. There was no new Star Wars coming out, and then James Earl Jones just pops that line out, and you're like, oh yeah, it was brilliant, really good,
awesome. Yeah. Going to a sitcom actually, Friends. It's yeah,
I've seen
obviously
all the Friends.
very popular. You have seen it.
I've seen the whole way
Yeah.
through Friends. Yeah.
We're talking the wardrobe in this instance. I mean, why this would pop into my head, I have no idea. But Jennifer Aniston in Princess Leia's bikini from Return of the Jedi.
Do you know what? For a minute there, I got confused. I was like, the wardrobe, is that the one where they're trying to get it up the stairs? But that's a sofa.
Oh, yeah,
isn't
that's
it?
the sofa.
And
yeah,
what Ross do when he goes up the stairs?
Pervert.
That's
Pervert.
Right, yeah. So you're not talking about that episode.
No,
that is a funny episode.
No, it is. Jennifer Aniston in the Princess Leia bikini.
Of course, yeah. And the excitement on Ross's face.
Yeah. Until I think it's his mum, isn't it? Takes like.
Do you know it's been a long time
sees
since
his mum. So I think that's right.
Yeah.
In the bikini. Anyway, moving on.
My next one is Hot Shots Part Deux with Charlie Sheen.
Yeah, great film.
Yeah, really funny film. It's just simply the scene where Saddam Hussein and the president fighting each other, and they have lightsabers in the battle, just ever so briefly. Really funny. It's been done several times now in loads of other films. I think Silent Bob and Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back.
Oh yeah, that's another one. So like Clerks and everything. Pretty much everything Kevin Smith does has some sort of Star Wars reference, doesn't it?
Exactly, which makes that whole 370 references you talked about at the beginning a complete fallacy.
Yeah.
But yes, so yeah, Hot Shots Part Deux, really loved that film so much, but added Star Wars reference even better.
Yeah. Well, another one for me then. In fact, I'll do the next two because they kind of lead on from each other. You got the OC.
I love the OC.
Yeah.
The first two seasons, anyway.
Yeah. I just remember the scene of Seth when the phone rings in his room and he's trying to use the Force to pick it up.
Oh yeah, I completely forgot. That's brilliant. Yeah, so funny.
And it's I just get it. But also George Lucas making an appearance.
What? I don't remember that.
Do you not remember that?
No, I don't remember that. No,
I think I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure.
Oh, I'm sure you're right. But I don't remember
it. I seem to remember Seth and somebody because he was a comic book artist sort of thing, wasn't he? That was what they pitched him as.
Yeah.
And he came up with a comic, and I think they pitched it to George Lucas in an episode.
That's coming back. I think you're right. Actually, that does ring a bell. Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. Oh,
so that's sort of.
We're definitely going to have to put that one up because I don't remember it, so I'll enjoy watching that back.
Yeah.
And
then moving on from that, I think it's the same creator of the OC. He went on to create Chuck.
Oh right, yeah, I've never seen Chuck.
Zachary Levi.
Yes.
Decent series. Wasn't so keen on the ending, but I quite enjoyed it. I mean, if you like the OC, it's probably worth a watch.
Yeah.
Now I'm trying to think. It kind of leads on from the Friends thing. They put I can't remember her name now. Sarah. They put her in the Princess Leia bikini. Mine has a theme. I've just come to realise a lot of mine has a theme. Oh dear. Moving on.
That was at the scene, was it? She just walks out.
There's definitely other Star Wars references in there.
Okay,
but that particular one that was so they faked a photo of them at Comic-Con together, dressed as Han and Leia.
Oh, right. Okay.
But then she actually appeared in the. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Anyway,
moving on. My next one is a film called Human Traffic. Now, have you seen Human Traffic?
I'm not sure I have.
It's a film basically about 90s clubbing, and the people of my generation, not necessarily all did, but we enjoyed a bit of clubbing in the 90s. And let's just say there's this great scene. Danny Dyer's in this scene.
Right.
A very, very young Danny Dyer. And he's talking about Star Wars with one of his mates. And I'll be quite frank, they're both absolutely stoned. And they're basically one-upping each other about Star Wars characters. And it gets to the point where they're on such a high that Danny Dyer just comes out with a line, and I'm hoping you'll insert that here. And basically, just the line itself is absolutely brilliant. The line he gives and the speech he gives is absolutely brilliant. But also the reaction to the fact that he's just come out of this in his state, and both of their reactions to it is just, I mean, it's absolutely hilarious. To me, it was absolutely hilarious at the time. And I even watched it the other day just to sort of remember it a bit more clearer. And it's so funny. It's probably one of my favorite Star Wars references in the movie, because I don't know, maybe it's just because when I was in the 90s I watched this film, and it kind of stuck with me because I was their age then. But it's one of my, that's probably number one or two after Back to the Future reference, that if someone said, right, top two, that would probably be number two, because I just remember laughing so much to it when I first saw it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I will definitely have to look out for that one.
I mean, it's probably aged really badly, as a lot of things have done these days. But it's still worth a watch, because there's there's so much more than it, just that's funny.
I know of the film, but I don't think I've seen it.
Oh, right. There's a particularly good scene that might be worth YouTubing for all those over 18s listening, where Danny Dyer talks about Peter Andre. That in itself is absolutely hilarious. So I'm just going to leave that there.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, awesome. Well, I think I'm gonna call it there, because I've run out. Have you got any more?
I've got one more.
You got one more? Go for it.
One of my favorite shows of all time is Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And not so much the first couple of seasons, but from season 3 onwards, I really locked onto that show when it first came out. And I still think to this day it's one of the most ahead of its time shows that there is out there. But that's for another Buffy the Vampire Slayer podcast. There's lots of Star Wars references in it, absolutely tons. But the one that sticks out the most to me is there's some villains in season 6 that call themselves the Trio, and there's 3 geeky guys, and basically, interference. Okay, I have feel an edit coming on there, Adam. There's these 3 geeky guys who are basically plotting against Buffy, and Spike, who's a vampire in the show, comes in and he wants something from them, and he basically can't do anything to them because he's got this chip in his head, just to give you a bit of context, that stops him from hurting anybody. So in order for him to do what he wants them to do, he looks around and he finds a vintage Boba Fett toy from 1979, and he holds it up in front of them, and he's threatening to break it unless they do what he tells them to do. And the panic in these guys, little 3 guys' eyes is like, oh my god, we've got to do it. We can't let him do this. We can't do it. And it's funny because it's funny, but it's also funny because I know if I was in that situation,
you'd probably be like those guys.
I'd be like, don't touch the Yoda.
just leave, just put it down. I'll do whatever you want.
Please don't touch the Yoda. So yeah, that again is absolutely brilliant. So I think
any listeners know your weakness now.
Yeah, well, I think if they listened over the last few weeks, they probably would have realised that. But just opening packages of Star Wars figures, is my kryptonite. So yeah, they were probably my 8 picks, I would say, out of
brilliant.
Off the top of my head. So
8 out of the 370 plus.
Exactly.
That there are. So
exactly. Yeah. I mean, if I was a bit more conscientious, I'd come back next week and say, right, I found more than 370. I've got 371.
That's awesome. Right, we're going to wrap it up there. Tell us what your favourite references to Star Wars and TV and film are. Drop that in the comments.
Yes, please.
Or tweet us, because it'd be cool to hear what makes you laugh and whatnot. And we'll catch you next time, I think. Cool.
Excellent stuff. Cool.
Cheers.
Take care.
Bye.